They're coming for us. Get them. Get them. They're coming in hot.
I got one.
Don't get cocky, kid.
But it's a Pod Bros podcast.
What do you mean it's a podcast? You haven't been shooting? They're all over the place.
Well, no, but they've got all sorts of good shows like Pencil and Ink Reviews and The Guy Huddle and Players vs. Podcasts. I mean, was I supposed to?
Yes. What? How many podcasts do they have?
There's tons. You got other ones like The Accidental Wrestling Fan and Take Aim Outdoors.
That kind of sounds like we should make podcasts, not war.
Aww. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I am Sean.
And we're speaking the language of bromance. Working early in the morning sucks. But before we get into anything, I'm saying working early in the morning sucks. I am not a morning person, and I do not understand human beings that think that it is functional to be at work at, let's say, any earlier than like 7 in the morning.
So what time do you have to get to work?
Today I had to be at work at 5.
5.
Right. 5 in the morning. Do you know what's not awake at 5 in the morning? The sun. The sun isn't awake at 5 in the morning. Why the hell am I?
So if you had to work at 5, I'm not sure what your commute is, but you're probably having to get out of bed at 4.
Yes,
at least
I had
to
get
ready.
Out of bed at 4 to get myself ready, get in my car, drive, and then walking in the door. And I'm just like, are 5 o'clock in the morning? The sun isn't even awake, and here I am. And
there's always that weird state, like you're up and your body's like going through the motions, but like you're definitely not in yourself. Like you're kind of watching you go through all this, and in the entire time you're thinking like, why the hell am I not in bed?
Right? I'm sitting there and I'm just like, this isn't a way for a person to live. But then there's people that are like, oh, I'd much rather work at, early than late. I'm like, why? I know people that are like in their like late 20s. They're like, oh, I love going to work early because then you get off and you have the whole day. I'm like, yeah, but then you want to go to bed at like 8. I'm like, you're eating dinner at 4:30.
My dad used to get up at, I think he had to be like at work at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. So he was getting up at 3, or so. And he did that for a long time. And it's just, it had to have been miserable. But it's probably nice now because he doesn't have to be at work till 7 or 8. So probably for all those years that he had to get up so early, it's like, oh, I get 3 extra hours of sleep. So this is amazing. But even him, like he was going to bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So it wasn't like he was able to stay up very late.
Exactly. You're eating you're eating dinner at like in the afternoon. You're a perpetual. You know what you are? You're perpetually an old person at that point.
For the most part, yeah. I know for a long time, or a couple summers ago, I guess it wasn't really a long time, but I wanted to try and work out more early in the morning. So I got up at 5, worked out, and got ready, and then went to work. And I was like, oh, I'll get home. I won't have to work out. I'll have all this free time. And no, it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock came around. I'm like, I got to go to bed. So you really don't gain any extra time. It's just shifting from sleeping in to, going to bed earlier.
Right. Going to bed at fucking 8 o'clock. Ugh.
Yeah, I really wish I was one of those kinds of people that didn't like need sleep. Like I just really, really enjoy sleeping. There's nothing better than like, even like if I get to sleep until 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning on like a Saturday or Sunday, I'm still just like, I'd rather stay in bed. Like I do not want to get up out of bed. I don't know if you're the same way or not on that. I don't have any kids or anything like that. We have pets.
I mean, I would say with kids you kind of train yourself to go on very little sleep. But I mean, I wish that I could go like on like a constant 4 hours of sleep a night, but usually what ends up happening is like I'll sleep light for like 2 or 3 days, and then I'll have to just crash. Like I can go like 2, maybe 3 days on like less than 6 hours, but if I do that, then by like the third or fourth day, like I have to go down. I'm down for like 8.
Yeah. There's been times where I kind of did that like 4 or 5 hours of sleep for a couple days, and you pretty much just need that weekend where you do nothing but sleep. Like it's you get up out of bed, shower, eat breakfast, lay on the couch, and then nap the rest of the day.
Right. See, that's the thing is like you're fucking like, and like when you have a day off, like what? How does that work? Then you're up at 5 for no goddamn reason.
Oh yeah, the people who are so used to getting up that now you're up
Right.
at 6, 7 o'clock.
Right. There's nothing open. What do you do?
Yeah, it's the same way with my dad, and there's nothing on TV either. I mean, everything's just infomercials or.
It's well, oh crap, what's it? Ag Day. It's
Oh
ag
yeah,
news. That's what it is. It's news about agriculture,
yeah. Who doesn't love that?
which is always riveting. I don't care what. Oh God.
Today corn, tomorrow corn. But yeah, I've always kind of been that kind of person too. It wishes that because you always hear like real successful people or some other people. It's like I only need 4 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep, and it's almost like they don't need it. It's just them kind of going through the motions. But it's one of those things. If I don't get my sleep, it's just miserable.
Yes. Yes,
And
totally.
and it's getting to the point now too. I don't know if it's just my age or if maybe I just need that weekend of nothing but sleep. But when I get up, I'm still tired. And I don't know if it's more of like so on the weekends, like last night, Tiffany and she was doing homework and I was helping her with that, and then she's like, "Let's watch Grimm." So it was midnight before I went to bed. Woke up this morning just still super tired. So I don't know if it's just needing to go to bed earlier would have helped or what the deal was on that.
I don't know. See, I'm the type like if I don't have to be like I can usually like swing like 6 hours. Well, I mean, I would say 6, usually less, but like 6 hours is pretty solid for me. So like I usually am pretty a fairly late person. But when I have to do this, when I have to be at work at 5 in the morning, like I'm thinking it's like 9 o'clock. I'm like, oh God, I should lay down because then I feel like I'm going to oversleep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I force myself to lay down super early, but then I don't even sleep well because then I keep waking up thinking, oh God, what time is it?
Oh yeah,
Because you don't know. Because you know why? Because it's dark, still dark out. That's
yeah.
why.
The sun's not up, so it's not
Right?
time for anything to move yet.
Right? It's still dark, so then you don't know what fucking time it is.
Well, I know like your schedule shifts a lot too. I know that's always kind of a frustrating thing because like you said, like you're used to like some days you have to be up at 5, some days you don't have to be until noon or 1. So your sleep schedule gets completely thrown off. I know people who work like what they call them the graveyard shifts, and they talk about like how just like it screws up your life completely because you're getting up at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night to go to work, and then you're coming home like right before the sun comes up. And so you're like tired and ready for bed, but your body's like, wait, the sun's coming up, so you need to be up and active. Just completely fucks everything up.
Exactly. Anyway, I'm done talking about work. But I needed to put that out there because I'm a little bitter about being at work early. A little bitter.
So before we cut off of sleep, so like talking of sleep, did you just get a little bit more tired? Are you awake? Wake up.
What?
Richard, wake up!
Uh birds. What?
We're doing a podcast. Wake up!
Shit. I see like this is the other thing is like I feel spotty all day. Like I didn't really adequately sleep today. I feel a little haggard, like Merle Haggard, which I'd start singing a Merle Haggard song, but I can't. I don't know what he sings. I think he's a rapper.
Sounds good.
Okay. So but yeah. That I put in my 2 cents, and getting up early sucks. I am not that person, nor do I want to be that person, and I honestly don't think anybody should be that person.
Yeah, no, I think the best we worked at the sports bar, I always had to be in at work at like 4, 3 or 4. So that was always kind of the sweet spot because yeah, I was getting off at like 1 or 2. But by the time I got home, got to bed, like I felt like I could get a good night's sleep, wake up around noon, 1, get stuff together, head into work, and start all over again.
Right, and see, they honestly okay. Well, like for cooks, they say that as a chef, you are 4 times more likely to develop a drug abuse problem and 6 times more likely to develop an alcohol abuse problem. And people are like, "Why is that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's one, the environment, which
Yeah.
we've talked about at length. But the other one I would say is like you get off at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Like, what the fuck else are you gonna do? Like, you're not gonna go to bed till like at least 2, probably closer to 4 in the morning. Like, what are you gonna do? What is there to do from 3 to 4 in the morning besides drink?
Well, that's kind of the human nature. Like you put in your day's work and then you have 3 or 4 hours of downtime and then you go to bed. And so like when you're a cook or you're working that later night job, it kind of shifts that completely because you're getting home when you should be in bed, but your body's probably still in that I need to wind down mode.
Exactly.
And I know I need to wind down whenever I get home.
Yeah, I do too. I'm the exact same way.
It's actually been nice with this and like the writing stuff I've been doing because it's been something real like it helps me wind down, but it's actually like productive too. But then there are those days. I think a couple days ago, I just sat down and like watched 2 or 3 episodes of Walking Dead just to get that out of the way.
Right.
But speaking of Walking Dead, something we've kind of touched base on before, but never really talked about in depth. I don't know about you, but I know when I was younger, my grade school library had all these different books on like weird, like supernatural or weird occurrence type things, like your Bigfoot, your Loch Ness monster, UFOs, aliens, all those kind of weird things, and those always just really captured my imagination. And what brought this up is, I guess recently there's been another skunk ape, which is, I guess, the Florida's version of Bigfoot.
I've heard of this. It's like, the whole thing like with the smell and, and whatever. Yeah, the skunk ape. Like everybody's different. Like the Pacific Northwest has Sasquatch. The Florida has the skunk ape. The Himalayas have the Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
In India they have they actually call it the Indian monkey monster.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure I'm missing different names for shit here, but those are the ones I can just rattle off the top of my head. So you got Sasquatch. I'm totally down with Sasquatch. I'm totally down with aliens. Speaking of aliens, here we go. There is a news story floating around about Fox bringing back the X-Files.
Oh yeah. I saw you place that up on our Facebook page.
I did because there's a I mean, shout out to another podcast. Not like they need the publicity, but Gillian Anderson was on the Nerdist podcast a month or so ago. And
is that a pretty popular podcast? I don't know if I've ever heard of it.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think I'm not. I mean, you're putting me on the spot here. I'm not sure.
I'll have to check the reviews. Like,
yeah,
is the host pretty famous, or are they?
I mean, fairly, I would say.
Okay.
Gillian Anderson was on that episode, and they were talking about the X-Files, and they were like, that show totally should come back. It should come back. It not only does it need a comeback because, I mean, like, let's face it, the last movie they had, that Fight the Future, it was a little lackluster.
Was that 07, 08?
Yeah, like 08, yeah. Movie was a little but it was okay, but it didn't provide, for me, it didn't provide that closure that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
And so then they were like, we don't even, I mean, like, if you guys want to do another movie, that's cool, but like if you guys like want to bring the show back, like, we'd be down for that. I mean, I understand, like, they're getting, David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson, they're getting up there in age. I think I'm not sure how old they are, but I mean, they're getting there. So I'm not expecting like 22 episodes, but like if they did, like a few here and there.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of the half seasons, like 12 episodes, just get in, get out.
You get, the story gets kind of, the story's a bit more condensed, but I mean, I honestly, I think that kind of forces the creative juices to flow.
Well, you don't have like those buffer episodes because I mean, I guess with X-Files, it's probably okay because they're very much each episode can be contained to itself, and then there's a bigger arcing picture. Kind of like the Buffys and Angels and things like that. Like, you can have a one-off episode where they're fighting this one kind of beast or investigating this one-off story that doesn't pertain to the season in whole. But
I love those episodes.
Oh, I do too. But the
Loved
problem
them.
is, like, at least with me, 22 episodes is a lot right now to try and watch.
This is very true.
I mean, that's kind of why I've fallen off of Arrow and Flash recently. Is just because you missed 4 weeks, and it's like, oh, I'm 4 episodes behind, but there's still 22 to go, and it's just kind of a daunting task. But my question I was going to ask, and it feels like this is kind of the killer of this stuff, but why don't they just reboot the whole thing?
What do you mean? Like with have some like new characters or whatever?
Yeah, cast new characters, or you could still have them, but and it sucks because these never seem to work. But you keep them in it as the detectives of this show, but they're not the main characters. They're training the new class, or there's two different characters that we're starting to follow.
Yeah, kind of like I just started watching some of this on that show on TNT, The Librarians. Have you know what I'm talking about? They had this series of made-for-TV movies on TNT called The Librarian, and it has Noah Wiley, that dude that played Carter in ER.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And he plays this kind of like an Indiana Jones-ish type character that's like seeking relics and artifacts and stuff like that, all with mystical properties, and it's kind of like Warehouse 13. Which was also a really good show.
Yeah, it was a really good show. I think I've only seen the first full season, but it was a good show.
Yeah. So yeah, they brought this new show on TNT called The Librarians, and in it they have Noah Wiley as kind of like he's kind of in and out of the show as kind of like training the new recruits in a way.
Okay.
So like I see what you're saying, like kind of have like Mulder and like Scully and Mulder are like the heads of the X-Files division, and they like hand out cases to like a new crop of FBI rookies.
Yeah, or I mean maybe like the first season they play a huge part, because I mean I've seen like different shows where they try to reboot it and do something like that where it's either new characters or the same characters, and it never seems to take off. Like it seems like Doctor Who is the only one that could be like it's a new person but the show still works. If you ever have that big of a drastic change where your main characters are completely different.
I totally agree.
The show just kind of falls apart, but you slowly build them in. Like maybe that first season is they're the main characters, but you slowly introduce these other ones and start pulling them back, and now you have another 10-year run of X-Files.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, so anyway, so back to the podcast. I felt like I'm getting off track. Back to the podcast. In the podcast, Gillian Anderson said, "That sounds like a great idea. I would be totally down for that." Says it word for word. I would totally be willing to do something like that. So then they get on this this kick that like we should totally like start like a Twitter campaign and blah 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 blah. 3 weeks later from the airing of this podcast, I start seeing news stories that Fox is talking about bringing the show back. And so Gillian Anderson says, like, yeah, I'm totally down for doing something like that. I saw a story on, I want to say it was Empire News, that said that David Duchovny was down for it. So the show's creator, Chris Carter, I'm sure he'd be totally down for it.
Yeah.
Plus, if they got some of their old producers and writers, one of the old producers and writers from the X-Files is Vince Gilligan, the guy that made fucking Breaking Bad.
Oh wow! So he's got some nice experience now to bring it back.
He went from the X-Files to Breaking Bad.
So if them bringing back X-Files, I was never a big. Not that I wasn't a big fan. I just never really watched any of those shows. Like Did the movies all kind of like keep the same storyline? Like, was there one big overarching bad thing they were trying to figure out, or Well, okay, so the way the show went is you had they kind of broke it up into, people say there's two different kinds of episodes. You have like the one shot kind of, episodes where it's like a Monster of the Week kind of episode, where like this is happening or this phenomenon is going on. This phenomenon. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da.
Phenomenon.
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 It's just 30 more minutes of this, folks.
You're welcome. But there's those one-shot kind of episodes, but then the other ones, they actually refer to them as mythology episodes,
Okay.
saying that, that those episodes deal specifically with the mythology of the show. And the mythology of the show is that aliens do exist and that the government is in cahoots with them in order for some far, vast, overreaching conspiracy that we're not entirely sure yet.
And that never gets exposed in any of the movies or anything?
No, it does. It gets exposed throughout the show in bits and pieces. So by the time I think the first movie came out like probably I think like 4 or 5 years after the show starts. The first movie kind of ties in with the show. The second movie, which came out in 2008, which was after the show had been and gone, the second one kind of felt like more of a one-shot movie, which
Okay.
is, I think, why a lot of fans were kind of disappointed with it.
So did the first movie come out while the season was going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so the movie came out in between seasons.
All right.
And so the show, like the movie tied in with the show really well, I felt.
Kind of like Serenity-esque. So if like Serenity or Firefly had a second season, that
Right.
first movie was tying into the first and leading to the second.
Right. So, yeah, X-Files might be coming back, and I'm totally down for it.
Yeah, if there's enough buzz. I mean, Fox seems to be hurting for good shows. I heard Gotham was doing well, but kind of dropped, but is back up. I can't really think of any other shows they have. 24, but I think that shit was just back for one season.
Yeah. Well, aren't they doing a movie? They're doing a movie, right? 24 movie? I don't know. I never watched the show. And I mean, this might get me stoned to death in the land of pop culture, but
I watched half of the first season. It was pretty good, but just couldn't keep watching it. Other things were kind of coming up, so I've been pretty good about that lately, where I watch half of a season and then stop watching it. So I don't know if that just is my personality or if that's just, shows just don't keep my interest as well.
Well, okay, so I feel like I should ask, have you been keeping up with Doctor Who? I feel like I should do like a weekly update with you on how you're progressing along with the show.
We haven't watched it in a couple weeks. I think we watched, so it's been a bit, but when we told you about Anthony Stewart Head being in the next episode, I think we've only watched the one after that. So we've Tiffany just started up school, so she's been a little busy. I've been busy helping her with her programming class, which has been a hoot.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, we're growing as a couple.
Yeah. By growing, you're doing her homework.
No, I try to walk her through it, but it's a lot of the stuff that like stumped me early on, I try to help her through.
I gotcha.
And just because I know whenever you first start that stuff, it gets frustrating really quick.
Yes, it can be. Stupid maths.
So back to kind of the reason I brought up the supernatural stuff is I guess there's been another big hoax in Florida with the skunk ape.
Oh.
And I know all these things. It just sounds like this one was more of like people were saying that they spotted the skunk ape. And I don't know if they have any pictures. They didn't show any in the article. But it seems like a lot of that stuff, like to me, I wish there was more of a scientific approach to it. But it's like almost a pseudoscience that's not really looked at as any kind of science at all.
Are they going to make a fake documentary about it and put it on the Discovery Channel?
That always, I remember being young and Discovery Channel be like, Discovery of Loch Ness Monster. And I would, I remember this show being prepped. I was like 12, 13. This show was just being like talked about like, oh, we've got great footage. It's, we're going to break something. It's going to be amazing. And I sit and watch it. And like the only thing is like this real scuzzy looking camera in the water and something moved in front of it.
No. I'm with you on that. It's like every single episode of what's that show? Like Monster Hunters.
Yeah.
Where they like lead up and build up, and then you get like 8 seconds of shaky cam footage, and like, look, it could be that right there, and you're just like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, thanks. I just wasted an hour of my life.
It's the quintessential mental blue balls. That's what
Yes,
it
yes,
is.
it is.
So no, I'm actually referring to where they make a documentary and everything is outright fake.
Like the one they did on the
On
giant
the
shark,
Yes, and
and
the
they show
mermaids and yeah.
I mean, those documentaries are okay, but it's like not on the Discovery Channel.
Don't put them on the Discovery Channel. Like there needs to be some integrity.
And I mean, like Loch Ness is one that's always captured my imagination because they say it's like so deep that like it's ridiculously big, and they've seen like weird things. It's like I want to know what that is because obviously there's something in there that's weird
I've
or
heard that
different.
there's actually like underwater storms
Oh,
in that
really?
in that yeah, in Loch Ness, that like the climate of the lake is such that like it can be totally calm on the surface, but underneath there can be like actual like raging water and churning water, almost like a thunderstorm
Huh.
underneath the surface, and you wouldn't even know it.
I wonder if that is it like cavernous underneath there or something.
I think so. I'm not sure about the climate of Loch Ness, but I did hear that somewhere that like it can actually develop underwater storms and things like that.
Hmm. But I mean, that stuff always captures my imagination because it's like, what happens if they ever do find, I think it's a Plesiosaurus or whatever the dinosaur they think Loch Ness monster
Yeah.
is. What would happen if someday they actually found that? And they're like, yeah, there's actually this dinosaur that we thought was extinct that lives because they find that stuff in the ocean all the time.
Right? I mean, that guy that you thought was crazy, like spitting crazy for like 30 years, holy shit.
Yeah. Like, oh, I guess Crazy Tom down the road was right.
Who's laughing now?
It's like, Tom, we're over here. Quit talking to the tree. But
Now time to move on to the end of the world prophecy.
It's gonna happen in 3 weeks. Well, he was right
Birds
about
everywhere.
he was right about the Loch Ness monster. But it's always, I mean, like you always hear these people that do the hoaxes on it, and I don't know what they gain out of it besides notoriety, I guess. But it's always to me kind of like frustrating because it's like to me, lying's a very difficult thing to do. So doing that on such a massive scale, I think is just even more challenging to be like, oh yeah, I got a picture of Loch Ness monster, or I got a picture of Bigfoot, but it's actually my buddy in a monkey suit that we shot just right, so you can't tell it's a monkey suit.
Right.
And you're like, why would you go through the effort to do that?
And also, I think it's that whole like boy who cried wolf kind of scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it kind of like doesn't lend credence to someone that actually does have something. Like, yeah, you're just like the other guys that were in the fucking monkey suit. Like, what do you know? And like, no, look, no, this really is a thing. And they're like, yeah, whatever. It's just like your buddy.
Yeah, the one, we've got all these things that are proved to be hoaxes. So, obviously, if 99% of them have been proven as hoaxes, this one is obviously a hoax. So we're not going to take any serious, credence to it.
Exactly.
And that's frustrating because, like, what if there is something out there that, something along the evolutionary chain, or, there's some kind of new creature in, Loch Ness that, that'd be a huge scientific, discovery.
I know. And I think, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that, like, I don't know, to me, like, things like the Loch Ness Monster and aliens, maybe to some extent, it seems like it's those things that, like, if you believe in it, then you'll believe in it quietly and not tell anyone, unless someone mentions it, and then you'll go on about it.
Yeah, that's
like because you don't want to seem like the crazy kooky guy at work, or
exactly.
you don't want to be like the weirdo at the bar, but you wait for someone else to like make that move. Like, well, that Loch Ness monster, and you're like, holy shit, you believe in the Loch Ness monster too? Let me tell you something. Underwater storms.
Caverns everywhere.
Caverns as far as the eye can see.
So what happens if that's like, I know we talked about wormholes in a couple episodes ago. What if that's what's happening in underneath Loch Ness, and that's where the monsters are coming from? They're different dimensional monsters that are finding their way.
It's like Pacific Rim.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It is Pacific Rim. It's Loch Ness Rim. LNR.
Yeah, there's what they can't call them kaijus because they're in Scotland, so they're just Nessies. They're all Nessies.
I was trying to come up with a good Scottish accent, but I don't think I could do it justice.
Oh, the Nessies in the water.
Yeah, I was kind of worried I just sound like a leprechaun, and they're like, "That's Irish, asshole." Imagine somebody out there with their kilts, like throwing those big ass logs on them.
Right? Or no, they build a giant robot that throws logs.
Yes.
It doesn't even wait for like actual like logs. It just picks up trees by the
Chucks 'em.
roots.
It's
Take
wearing
that, you bastard!
It's wearing a kilt. It actually has a metal kilt, and they made it anatomically correct, so everybody looking up gets a nice metal dong in their face.
Yeah, that's what they do after they throw the trees. See, they pick up the trees and then they throw them, and then these trees are coming at the Nessie, and then it lifts up its kilt, and it's like, look at my dick, and then Nessie's like,
look at it, look at it,
Nessie's
admire
like,
it.
Yeah, and then the Nessie.
It's as big as your neck.
And the Nessie is like, holy shit, that's a giant metal dick. Whack with a tree in the head. Or it gets him in the eye because it doesn't see the tree coming because it's like enamored by this large metal dong.
It passes out and washes
because
ashore.
Nessie's a female.
It washes ashore and it's like looking at its reflection in the water. And it's like, oh my god, did I just get mushroom stamped by that giant robot?
That's its close quarters weapon. The Nessie comes up and then it just like whap with one hand.
You just hear all this kush, 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 and you're like, I don't see anything happening. Oh god, there goes the kilt.
That's how we beat a Nessie in Scotland.
30 years later, it's an old robot just kind of hanging around.
Right.
A bunch of little robot kids sitting there. It's like, Master Robot, tell us about the battle with Nessie. Oh, I tell you, Sonny.
That's an Irish accent.
Yeah, I know. I thought I was doing good, but then I fucked it up. Give peace a chance.
Metal dongs as far as the eye can see, laddie.
Oh, mercy. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's one of those things that you don't really bring up. But in all honesty, if I see a Yahoo article or see a Reddit article talking about any of those mythical things, I click it right away. I'm not gonna lie,
right?
Because the truth is out there, and I want to know what.
But
what
I'm saying is at work, like, does everybody know that you are a Nessie fan or a Nessie believer?
No, so let's say I'm sitting there at my computer at lunch, just kind of, clicking through while I'm eating my sandwich, just, burning some time, and somebody comes over, is like, hey, you want to go to such and such for lunch, or hey, you want to go talk? Like, instantly minimizing that Bigfoot article. Instantly, because guarantee they see that it's like, hey, you want to eat? What?
You're that guy.
What is that? What are you looking at? Is that porn? Oh my god, it's worse. It's Bigfoot. How old are you?
Bigfoot is not safe for work.
But no, yeah, I really don't tell people about that. I'm really into that stuff because it is very much like one of those things that when people find out, like either you're like, it could be real, or you're like, oh my god, it's real, or you're like, that's stupid, that doesn't exist, there's no scientific proof, and you're an idiot.
Right. And then you have nothing to refute it with because you have no obviously there's no conclusive evidence, so you can't be like, well, actually, if you look at this and this and this and this, you, my friend, are the idiot. But you don't have that. So what happens is you just sit there and then you're like, oh God, maybe it's all wrong.
Yeah,
I am an idiot.
Your only argument is like, well, they haven't proven it doesn't exist. It's like, you can't prove a negative, dumbass. Like, oh. I'm going to go back to my Nessie book.
Yeah, this is why you have no friends.
That's why you're my only friend. And I was debating bringing up this topic because I really enjoy doing this show, so I was hoping you wouldn't, hang up on me and we'd never talk again.
Well, no, see, you just totally play it off. Be like, so I was thinking we should do a show about Loch Ness. And then I could be like, oh, I'm totally into that. And you're like, oh, God, me too. But see, the other way it would go would be like, that's stupid. And then you'd be like, yeah, it's totally stupid.
That's dumb.
We should talk about how stupid it is.
What about Washington State and their big giant ape? That'd be stupid too, right? We shouldn't talk about that.
Totally dumb.
But what about metal dicks? Totally in for metal dicks.
Yes. Pacific Rim job. What?
I always kind of like you hear the story of like people in their cabins and stuff, and like one of the stories I remember, it's like, oh, this has to be true because this seems way too crazy to make up. And the guy was talking about how he was like kidnapped by the Sasquatches, like a group of them.
Okay.
And like he couldn't look them in the face because like he knew that like other apes, if you look them in the face, it's like you're challenging them.
All right.
So he just hung out with them for a little bit and then ran away. I'm like, nobody can make that story up. That seems totally legit.
Right? I mean, how could you? I mean, you were kidnapped by a bunch of giant men that look like apes, and you were held as their prisoner. What happened while he was being held captive by this clutch of apes?
If I remember, it sound like for some reason I want to say like the picture made it look like they're around a fire, so it was like
Okay.
just a big like campsite.
They
And
were gonna
just-
eat him.
I think so. Well, they were eating something, so it's probably their appetizer before they planned on eating him.
Oh, and they can build fires.
Yep. Next thing you know, they're going to be building planes and
Yeah.
Oh, it's Planet of the Sasquatches.
That's
Could you-
where it comes from.
Oh shit! Could you imagine if that's what they're doing right now? Like they've been plotting for like hundreds of years.
Yeah, you're gonna go. It's probably like underground or something. Like you go like in the Pacific
Yes.
Northwest, and I bet there's like this, like underneath the Pacific Northwest, there is a future city with like flying cars. It looks like the fucking Jetsons, and it's
Oh,
all
yes.
populated by Sasquatches. Is it Sasquatches? Is it Sasquatch?
Yeah, I think so. Sasquatch Eye.
I don't know. Sasquatches. Sasquatch.
We're on the forefront of this as a scientist, so whatever we want to call it.
I don't know. There's a race of giant ape people that are wicked smart and fucking. They're gonna like one day. There's just gonna be like there's like Washington's gonna explode, and then there's gonna be these giant spaceships that just rise up from the earth.
Harry from the Hendersons going to grab the Sasquatch flag and plant it right in the White House.
Right.
Could you? So like this is what
John Lithgow will be our new vice president.
I could go for that.
Harry.
But you know what they're doing? Like, so all the oil and stuff, they're like, we're going to get them dependent on this oil because we're way past that. But all the oil is their waste. And so, like, at some point, they're going to be so dependent on this, we're going to cut them off. They're not going to know what to do. We're just going to go house to house and take over the ground.
Yeah.
And then we're going to team up with Loch Ness so they can get the water, and the flying eagle from the Midwest that's supposedly out there, he's going to take air, and they're just going to have all control over it.
And they just add insult to injury. They'll be like, hey, what are you going to do? Drive around in your tank? Here, let me get some fuel for you.
That'll get you a couple yards.
Yeah, bitch.
That's how it's going to happen. That's how the world's going to end.
Yeah.
And Crazy Tom's going to be like, I fucking told ya! Mythical beast all over! What accent was that?
It's going to be like, shit, what was that? World's End. Where Simon Pegg and they go to the town. It's populated by robots, and there's that one guy that drinks out of the crazy straw.
Uh-huh.
It's like, don't ask me what happened to the others. What happened to the others? I told you not to ask me that.
That's such a great movie.
That's going to be Crazy Charlie.
He's going to be one of
He's
the
going to be like,
forefront.
don't ask what happens to the people that piss off the Sasquatches. What happens? I told you not to ask me that.
I wonder if they'd let like the non-violent humans, like, so obviously they probably could kill everybody, but then if they just let small subgroups survive, like put them on some kind of like reserve or something like that and said, hey, you guys can live here. Or maybe they put us in zoos. That's what would happen.
Yeah. And they'd
So
be
they
like, and then Big Sasquatch is bringing in Sasquatch kids.
Yep. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
Yep, they used to rule the
They
world.
used to
but
be all over the place. And you
Now
know
there's
what?
only a
You know what
few.
they used? You know what they used to drive around? They used our shit.
Crazy story. Craziest thing. Used our shit, Dad? Yeah, our shit. I mean, they just sucked it right up and put it in these metal cars and drove around. Oh, look at that one. It's so cute. He's chewing on a ring. Watch, maybe they'll play in the water.
Oh.
Why is that one crying, Daddy? I don't know. Let's see. Smack the glass. Dump, 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 dump. What's wrong, little human? I think it's fine. I think he's happy. Daddy, why is the other?
You have a problem?
I want to live in that world.
Doesn't
They got us doing
understand our
tricks.
speech, Daddy?
Talk slower and see. I've heard they can do some mild sign language. They got us doing tricks. It's
Oh,
like,
we'll have
sit.
and then we'll have gangs of humans in the jungle.
There's areas that are overrun with humans.
It'll just be this total role reversal.
So
And then there'll be there'll be a female Sasquatch that'll go to live with the humans and learn their best. It'll be the Jane Goodall of Sasquatches.
What she do? She just like she's like they just love Axe body spray and Funyuns. It's the weirdest thing.
We're all just walking around. We're like, "Sup, bro? Sup, bro?
Sup, bro?
Sup, bro?" You're like, I don't know what that is. It might be a mating call.
I was thinking more of like, so since they like being in the woods, it'd be like, whenever there's like sightings of sharks, there's like shark signs that go up. So like, there's been a shark sighting, beach closed. There would be these group of violent humans, and they'll be seen in some section of the woods, and there'll be signs up. It's like human sighting, stay out.
Yeah. I think they might be the frat boy.
They're the frat boy breed.
Sup, bro? Sup, bro? Respect.
Wait. Did I just hear sup, bro? They're close. They're close. Shh. Pretend to be a tree.
Just stay calm.
That's awesome.
If we give them body spray and Pabst Blue Ribbon, I think they'll go away. They might move on.
You smell that, bro?
Take the girl!
Run, bro. We gotta run.
Oh, shit.
It's about to go down. Dum, 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 dum.
See,
Oh,
that's
my
what
jam.
happens.
That's the frat boy call.
Play some rave music. That'll distract them so we can make our escape. You hear that, bro?
There's a party going on over there, bro.
Run!
Bro.
Pete, don't fail me now.
I wonder if it would get to the point that after so many years that like the humans would become the exotic mythical beasts.
We'd be like unicorns.
Yeah. So it might be like, yeah, humans have never existed. That's a total lie. Like it's only
Right?
been Sasquatches. There's
There's
sightings.
some guy that's like, I'm a wizard and I've learned how to breed humans.
In
I
a
call
world.
this one Starfire and this one Sparkle Pants because he likes sparkle pants.
I like sparkles. I taught him that. It took months, but he figured it out. Here's a Funyun.
I like Funyuns.
Yeah, I just kind of like the picture of like the famous picture of Sasquatch walking, like looking real weird. Like it's just a picture of like a dude spraying Axe on him, like looking back.
Right. In this new world, we will be the missing link.
Oh man, but yeah, those things are always really interesting. I probably checked those books out like 100 times, like reading it. And it's like, even at that naive of an age, it's like nobody would lie about these things and put it in a book, right? Like it's in the
It's in a book,
non-fiction
so
area.
it has to be true because it's in a book.
And at that time, that was equivalent to, you can't put anything on the internet because it's not true. It's like you couldn't put anything in a book in a non-fiction section and call it, not true.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of like you go to the library. You're in school. You go to a library and there are books. Like the things in those books should be true. You're in a school. You're supposed to learn. There's books. You learn out of books. It's got to be true.
I miss being at that like age where like your imagination just takes over.
Yeah.
So like all these things are like, oh, that could be possible. But as you get older, it's like, if they haven't found Bigfoot in my lifetime, especially with all the technological advances we've had, probably not out there. It's probably maybe a big bear or something like that. But
see, right now, just hearing that, I want to try and refute it, but I got nothing. You know what I believed in a lot when I was a kid? Vampires. I was totally down with believing in vampires. And because I read it in books too, I would be in school and I'd read books. I'd read about vampires and books, and I'm like, holy shit, there's actual vampires.
Well, it's always that stuff. Like, there's always that. Like, you think about aliens. Like, in all societies, there's like things coming from space, Bigfoots and things like that. All these things have like their version of it. It's like these places were like not in communication with each other. How could they come up with things so similar but different?
Right.
And I don't know if it's just coincidence, because I mean, I guess nowadays you could say like somebody creates a movie and puts it out, and somebody else has a movie pretty similar. So I mean, it could boil down to just stories, but I like to think there's more. I mean, like vampires and werewolves and all those things. Like, why couldn't there be? I guess.
Well, I mean, like some of that stuff, is totally like some of that stuff. I can say is probably imagination, but you know what? Like, there are some things that like it seems like they're prevalent in every single culture. And it makes you wonder, like, how did everyone all over the world at one time, that even when we didn't have things like mass communication or mass transit, or even like going from Europe to Asia was this, 10,000 years ago was an nigh impossible feat. But how did separate cultures come up with the same idea for a thing? I'll give you a perfect example. Dragons.
Yeah, yeah.
You see depictions of dragons in every culture, and it's been like that way for thousands of years. How the hell did that happen? I'm asking.
Yeah, and is it one of those things that people are just like, because in all, I mean, this is not going off any good research on this, but are all of them pretty much like flying lizards, essentially?
You see pictures and they all look fairly similar. They're giant winged creatures. Some of them have wings, but they, in most cases they fly. Covered in scales and and giant lizards that fly and possibly breathe fire.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I say is like,
you see them in ancient Europe. You see them in ancient China. There's, I mean, how does that happen?
yeah, my thought is, like, Beowulf is a good example of this. Like, it's a very old. It started out as being a oral story that was passed down, and then finally somebody wrote it.
It's an epic poem.
Yeah, but it's kind of the same thing. My thought is like, and all these things are battling these big weird creatures like in the dark, dark forest. And so is it one of those things that like, really they were just fighting a bear, but since they didn't know what it was and it was dark, that they made it out to be something bigger than what it was. Dragons.
I fought a fish this big.
Yeah, exactly.
I fought a monster this big.
Here's its paw. It's like, that's a little paw. Kind of looks like a squirrel paw.
Like, no.
Fuck you, Tom. Go back to Loch Ness. But yeah, I always wonder if it's maybe just
One
like,
day you're all gonna believe me.
but it's one of those things that I don't know if like just then the imagination just ran wild because there wasn't, like you were fighting a lot of these things at night or they were attacking at night because that's what a lot of those creatures came from. But you make a good point with dragons. It's like, I was going to ask if they were similar enough that they're like, oh, well, that's kind of a dragon, that's kind of a dragon. But like if it was kind of like what you're saying, most of them look like scaled winged creatures that could have breathed fire.
It's like I said, you look at pictures of ancient China, or look at the way ancient China thought of a dragon, and look at the way the Celts or the the Visigoths. I mean, you look at the way they viewed a dragon, and they look pretty similar. I mean, Siegfried fought a dragon, and there's heroes in China that have fought dragons. Even Japan. I mean,
Yeah.
they all. How does that work? How is it that all these people had similar descriptions of what we now think, or what was commonly believed as a mythical creature, yet everybody came up with the same idea at once?
Yeah, to make it that close. I mean, it seems that's always kind of my thoughts on that. Is it seems like a stretch that would be possible. I mean, like if you had small subsets, like okay, this tribe and this tribe kind of had the same thing, but they all lived in an area where there was this animal that kind of looks like that could have been mistaken for it. But like you said, it seems like these are places that were too far apart to communicate at that time and have something look so similar.
Right.
Unless like somehow you and I get to time travel and we go in the past and just fuck with everybody's minds talking about dragons. Maybe that's
Right.
how it starts.
And now this is our way of laughing about it.
Yeah.
This is our own inside joke. We're gonna talk about this, but we actually know it's true. You know what's also true? Big metal dicks. That's totally happening.
I'm ready for that. That needs to get
Welcome
into this world.
Welcome to the bromance future, bitches.
Just big metal dicks and flying dragons.
Giant metal dicks and flying dragons.
But like, it's cool with the like. Let's play in a world where there are dragons, right? Or there were dragons. We could have some fucking Rain of Fire shit happen.
Yes.
That is probably one of my favorite underrated movies ever.
Matthew McConaughey's in that movie, right?
Yeah, he plays the American. And Christian Bale's in that too.
Yeah. There's a dragon. All right.
You know what I like about dragons? I keep getting older, and they stay the same age. But that's one of those worlds that, I mean, you always think about like apocalyptic events. How many dragons do you think it would take to like bring down our world? Maybe it wouldn't take many. I don't know.
Honestly, I don't think it would take much, especially I think if you consider if they have something, if they have like the element of surprise, like if, what was it? Shadowrun, perfect example. The game Shadowrun, in the game, tabletop RPG, but I don't remember what year it was. Basically, the way Shadowrun works is there's a cycle of magic, and that in the year 2012, when the Mayan calendar ends, that's when the cycle of magic picks back up. So we start not only getting people that are born as elves and dwarves, and and then we get things like orcs and trolls, but we also get mythical creatures like dragons. So dragons just start showing up.
It's like all of a sudden there's 100 or thousands of dragons flying around.
No. In the actual game, there's only a handful. I would say less than 10.
Okay.
But they're all so. They're considered almost like these epic creatures in the game that like they're almost unbeatable.
Yeah, I always loved. I remember when you mentioned that idea that kind of game seems fun. Like if you like D&D, this is like D&D with like actual guns and firearms and like things that of, like tanks, trucks, vehicles, all these cool things.
Right. There was one dragon called in Germany called the Firewing, that once it woke up, like it started laying waste to towns, and it went on this like rampage. And like just roasting cities alive, and like all these people were dying, and it was finally brought down after I don't remember how much time passed, but like I think that's the only case I've seen where a dragon was actually brought down by humanity or meta humanity.
And this was in the Shadowrun storyline.
Yeah, and it's in the storyline. They call it Dragonfall.
So I wonder then, like, let's play this out. So, like, dragons actually start showing up. Do you think we have enough firepower with, like, our, different kinds of fighter planes and, our ships at sea that can fire ridiculous types of,
See,
bullets
I don't
and
know,
things?
because you're talking about something. You're talking about a creature that not only would it have a devastating weapon, breathing fire, but is also incredibly fast, incredibly agile, and super intelligent to boot.
Yeah, I guess the intelligence would be the thing that you would, like, if it's just more of a Rain of Fire creature, because I don't think they really were, like, they weren't probably okay intelligence, but they weren't, like, high intelligence, like, they didn't talk. Like, maybe that would be one you could defeat, but if you're talking, like, Smog, yeah, you'd probably be effed.
Right. I mean, because of the way it. I mean, could we eventually hit it with things like missiles and stuff like that? Sure, but I mean, like I said, we're talking about something that's incredibly fast and agile in the air, and then it comes. Let's say it lands in the middle of fucking New York City and starts breathing fire and everything. What are you gonna do? Nuke the town?
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure there's plans out there for that somewhere.
Oh, I wonder if there's a dragon contingency plan. We have a zombie apocalypse contingency plan.
I bet there is. I mean,
There's got to be a dragon contingency plan.
that's the job for us. We need to figure out if there's an actual like division for like, okay, here's all these ridiculously, probably not plausible events.
And
Go
we
ahead
need
and
to
figure it out.
what
Yeah.
to do. So in the event a dragon shows up, so what'd you do today? Well, we decided that if a dragon lands in New York, we're going to nuke the city. How about you, dear? More eggs?
So we also today was a great day at work. So we got in and they said, all right, we're gonna look at what happens if Loch Ness is actually kind of like Pacific Rim. New movie came out, so we thought we better be prepared for this. What's your thoughts? Big Scottish robot, big Scottish dick. That's what we got.
So, that good? So lunch?
Lunch, yeah. Like that's going to be like $600 billion to make. It's like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
raise a few taxes and cut back on schools.
$600 billion. Okay. I'm sorry, but in the country I grew up in, like, we defend America.
Yeah.
And the only way I can see us defending America properly against evil lake monsters would be to build a giant metal robot with a giant metal dick. And honestly, in the America that I live in, we will use that giant metal dick because we're Americans, and in American we like to fuck things.
They're like, but in your notes you said this is going to be a Scottish robot. I mean, can we at least put an American flag on it? And
Kilt
Levi
could be
jeans?
American. American flag is the kilt.
Like, listen, we'll make some contingencies on this, I guess. Yes, we can make an American flag kilt and call it good.
Yeah.
And then we'll fight Loch Ness, and then that'll help us bring back the
And
X-Files.
then, like, as the last resort, it shoots off its dick like a giant missile.
Oh, and that could take us to Mars.
Oh, and
it's
as
multi-purpose.
As it shoots off, then it plays like the Star Spangled Banner.
Yes, fireworks. Boo, boo.
By the dawns. It's like an ICBM.
Oh, shit. And like people are standing there watching us like the first rocket ship's like, remember this, kids.
Yeah.
One day you'll tell your grandchildren about the great dick spaceship that took us to Mars and defeated the Loch Ness Monster. Oh, shit.
An ICBD, an intercontinental ballistic dick. Because, I mean, really, look, I mean, when you think about it, like, missiles are shaped that way anyway. I mean, it's not like, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah, we're just taking what those perverts did and, enhancing it.
Yeah. You know what I just did? I just made missiles cool. That's what happened.
Imagine that first meeting, the dude comes in with, like, this, like, super, like, fancy-looking spaceship that doesn't look like a dick at all, and there's some dude in the back going, hey, bro, check what I drew. Like, that'll
so
actually
sick,
work better.
We can totally take out Sasquatch with that.
Oh man.
You know what? If that was a job, like, hey, we need to figure out what happens if we're attacked by dragons. Hey, we need to know what happens if we're attacked by a race of super intelligent giant apes.
Sasquatches, yeah. That's a job I want. That's one that
Right?
like you call the wife. You're like, listen, a tough one came in today. Super intelligent Sasquatches, and she's like, oh man, I understand completely. Let me know if you need me to bring any coffee or anything.
This is God's work, dear. This is God's work.
And you just hear in the corner, toot, 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 toot. It's like, are you rolling dice?
No. Giant metal dick, Sean. Gotta go.
Oh, we just hit us. Red alert, babe. I gotta go.
You know what? But seriously, if that was the job, I would get up at 5 a.m. for that
hell
job.
Yeah. I could get up at 5 and work till 1 and do it all over again.
Right?
Oh man, we're so good at bringing shit around.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens.
People are sitting there thinking, it's like, I wonder if they planned this out. Like they've scripted this whole thing. And,
No
we're gonna let you in a
fucking
little
idea.
secret. Nope, don't have a clue.
Not a damn clue.
I do want to, before we get into our housekeeping, pull this up. I think did you see the link I sent you from?
Yes, I did. I didn't get a chance to listen, but I was planning on doing that later today because I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a busy person. I have things going on. I have a life. I mean, seriously, that's not true. I have no life.
But if you get a chance, it's Fat Man and Timmy Nine Toes. He just started up his podcast. It's TESD Fan One is his Twitter handle. Said you know, it's kind of cool to hear somebody say that, you know, we helped inspire them to do a podcast. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, and so because of that, we have to say, go forth into that good night.
Yeah, it's easy to do. You know, if you have a good buddy like I do, it's fun to get together a couple times a week or once a week and just shoot the shit. So
Exactly. But yeah, it's on Podbean. As far
Yeah.
as yes,
Yep.
it's on Podbean.
So do you want to give your Richard's closing thoughts?
No, because I mean, giant metal dick. That's it.
That's the closing
That's
thought.
that's how you end. That's how you end a conversation.
Okay. Well, I will do some housekeeping then so we can get on out of here. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Language of Bro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Our website is languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook, leave a comment, and subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher.
It's radio.
And then also our great home, Pod Bros Network.
Pod Bros Network.
All right. Well, is there anything else before we close her out?
No.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I am Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver. Is that a big metal dick?
With a giant metal dick.